Today, we're going to shatter a myth. The myth of the man who thinks he has to talk in order to exist. The one who believes that seducing is about convincing. The one who thinks his power lies in his words. But what if I told you it's actually the complete opposite? That true charisma, true power, true attraction makes no noise. You want her to admire you? Learn to be silent. This video is going to change the way you interact with women, but most importantly, with yourself. We're going to talk about silence, about posture, about presence, and above all, about quiet strength. If you're tired of chasing validation, if you want to rise above the noise, then listen closely till the very end. Lesson 1. You want her to admire you? Learn to be silent. Modern men believe they have to convince people to seduce them. Talk, argue, impress. They show off their degrees, their projects, how sensitive they are. They want to prove they deserve love. But here's a simple, brutal, stoic truth. The more you talk, the more you expose yourself. The more you explain, the more you lose your stature. A woman doesn't admire a man because he has all the answers. She admires a man because he doesn't need to have all the answers. She watches your calm when you could get angry. She observes your silence when you could justify yourself. She senses your self-control when you could try to please. Example, she tells you, "I don't know if I can trust you." The average guy panics, tries to argue back. "But why do you say that? I'm always here. I haven't done anything. That's not fair." The stoic man responds differently. He looks at her. He listens. He simply says, "You have the right to have doubts. Me, I stay true." No demonstration, no justification. He stands his ground. He embodies. That's real masculinity, density in silence. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And I would add, the best response is sometimes to say nothing at all. In a world overloaded with noise, silence is a weapon. When you're quiet, you show you don't need to seduce. You don't need to convince, you just are. And it's that raw presence, that stable simplicity that leaves a mark on minds and hearts. Lesson 2. Cultivating stoic silence in the storm. You might think being silent means running away. You might think silence is indifference. Wrong. Real silence isn't running away. It's mental discipline, a form of respect, proof of self-mastery. When she yells, when she cries, when she tests you, it's not always you she's fighting. She's often facing herself. She projects her doubts, fears, old wounds, and then you have two options. You dive into her storm, you try to explain, reason, comfort, save. Or you stay grounded. You listen without falling apart. You don't react, you embody. Example, she says, frustrated, "You don't care about me. You didn't even react to my message." You could get agitated, upset, try to justify yourself. Or you can stay calm. "I read your message. I took time to think. I'm here now." No defense, no attack, just anchored presence. You don't respond to her chaos. You remind her of your consistency. Stoic exercise. Next time you feel the urge to speak, defend yourself or set the record straight. Breathe. Look at her. Remember, you have nothing to prove. Your silence isn't empty. It's loaded with your inner power. As Epictetus said, "It isn't what happens to you that troubles you, but how you react to it." Silence is that sacred pause between stimulus and response. Where others explode, you elevate yourself. A stoic doesn't fight the wave. He becomes the rock the wave strikes over and over without ever breaking him. She'll yell, she'll test, but deep down she's looking for just one thing: a man who stays, a man who doesn't waver, a man whose silence is more reassuring than all the words in the world. Lesson 3. Silence as a lever of attraction. Want to captivate a woman? Then stop chasing her attention. Make her wonder, why doesn't he talk like the others? Because in your silence, there's mystery. And mystery is what the feminine mind endlessly explores. She isn't attracted to the guy who reveals himself too quickly. She's drawn to the one she doesn't understand right away. The one whose calm intrigues her, whose silences provoke her, whose glances raise questions. It's not the loud man she wants, it's the steady man. Example: in a room full of men who talk loudly, joke, debate, show off, there's a man sitting, relaxed, silent, observing. That's the guy people notice because he's not trying to be seen. And that's exactly why he stands out. A Stoic isn't cold. He's controlled. He's not uninterested. He's selective. He doesn't speak to fill a void. He speaks when his words carry weight. Stoic attraction tactics. The less you say, the more each word matters. The less you reveal, the more she wonders. The less you chase, the more she advances. Scarcity creates value. Silence creates tension, and held tension turns into desire. As Lao Tzu said, "He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know." In seduction, as in life, true power isn't shown off, it's imposed. And if you want her to admire you, remember, it's not your voice that touches her. It's your silent presence, your calm gaze, your controlled posture that make a man an enigma she wants to explore. Lesson 4. When talking becomes a trap. A man often thinks that talking will fix things, that explaining his point of view will calm the tension, that opening his heart will make her softer. But he forgets one crucial thing. Talking under pressure is often just talking to comfort yourself, not to enlighten, not to connect. To avoid discomfort, you speak so she'll listen. You explain so she'll understand. You apologize even when you did nothing wrong. You think you're diffusing. In reality, you're digging yourself deeper. Example: she says, "I feel like you're hiding something from me." And you, caught in the trap: "No, I swear it's not like that. Look, I can explain everything." And now you've fallen into the pit. You're stuck. You get nervous, reactive, agitated. While the Stoic would have said, "I stand true. It's your right to have doubts. I have nothing to hide." And then silence, because every word under emotional fire is a noose you tighten around your own neck. Talking to defend yourself is proof you're already affected. Strength isn't in demonstration, it's in restraint. What you hold back today will set you free tomorrow. Poorly chosen words leave scars. Well-kept silence leaves an imprint. As Seneca said, speech is the mirror of the soul. If the soul is agitated, speech will be too. The trap isn't the conversation. The trap is the need to explain yourself. And that need is your ego fighting to survive, not your wisdom aiming to build. The Stoic, he has nothing to save because he never scattered himself. Remember, what you say can be used against you, but your calm, your silence, your posture, no one can manipulate those. Lesson 5. Silence as proof of masculine worth. In a world where everyone talks, shouting louder doesn't make you stronger. What makes you powerful is your ability to not react, not to chase attention, to fully exist without needing to justify yourself. That's where your value is, not in what you say, but in what you master. A stoic man doesn't look for validation. He validates himself every day through his choices, his silences, his calm. And it's that inner autonomy that makes him a reference point amidst the chaos. Example: two men walk into a room. One talks loudly, laughs out loud, seeks everyone's gaze. The other sits, silent, upright, attentive. Who commands more respect? Who inspires trust without a word? The answer is obvious: the man who has nothing to prove. A man's silence sends a stronger message than 1,000 speeches. I'm fine where I am. Nothing's rushed. Nothing threatens me. Nothing forces me to move. And a woman feels that. Not with her ears, with her instinct. Why does a woman admire a silent man? Because his silence says, I'm not here to seduce you. I'm not seeking your approval. I can be with you without losing who I am. And that attitude right there, that's real masculine power. As Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our freedom and our growth. That space, that inner silence, is what the stoic man cultivates. And it's what a woman senses, often without even understanding it consciously. Your value doesn't need to be shouted, it's felt, and silence is the language of self-assured men. Lesson 6. When you speak, you reveal your structure. Every word you utter is a crack in your armor, a window to your fears, your needs, your flaws. You think you're communicating, but often you're exposing yourself. And the more you talk, the clearer she sees. Not what you want her to see, but what you're trying to hide. Example: she calmly asks, "Do you talk to other girls?" You panic, want to show you're transparent, sincere. You start, "No, but you know, I just replied to a friend. Nothing serious. I didn't want to hurt you, but..." And there you go. You don't trust your own stance. You think that by explaining yourself, you'll reassure her. But really, you confirm her doubt. The Stoic, though, answers without fear. No matter the question, his answer doesn't aim to please. It just is. It's firm, short, clear. Example: I talk to whoever I want. I respect what we're building, and I have nothing to hide. Silence. No argument, no panic. The more you talk, the more she reads into it. The more you explain, the more she senses your fear of being seen as the bad guy. And that it's a loss of value on the spot. You don't have to lie, but you also don't have to expose yourself. Your masculine structure is your boundaries, your calm, your consistency. And if you reveal it too soon, it crumbles. A stoic man doesn't fear being misunderstood. He fears betraying his own inner coherence. He speaks when he chooses to speak, not when he's pushed into it. As Nietzsche said, the level of silence a man can keep in the face of misunderstanding is the true test of his power. Want her respect? Be impenetrable, not in your heart, but in your presence. Because what you say, she'll remember, but what you leave unsaid, she'll remember even more. Lesson 7. The man who speaks little inspires more than the man who convinces. You might think convincing is dominating. That arguing proves your intellectual superiority. You think the better, the louder, the faster you talk, the more you'll overpower. But you forget the core truth. Whoever tries to convince is still unsure. The Stoic doesn't need to convince. He embodies it. He doesn't sell his ideas. He lives his principles, and that's what inspires. Not fancy speeches, but silent consistency. Example: you can tell a woman you're loyal, reliable, stable. You can say 20 well-crafted lines, But if, at the first disagreement, you lose your calm, everything you said turns to dust. On the other hand, you say nothing. You stay calm while she gets worked up. You let her talk, blow off steam, get it all out, and you remain standing. She doesn't admire you because you talked. She admires you because you didn't break. As Confucius said, "He who doesn't talk much but whose actions are right, that is a rare man." And it's rare men that women respect, not those who seduce with lines, but those whose presence imposes itself silently. Real charisma makes no noise. It fills a space without trying to dominate it. It brings silence around it, not through fear, but by sheer gravity. Want to inspire? Start by not trying to impress. Be simple, steady, silent. A man who speaks little leaves room for imagination, and imagination is more powerful than all your justifications. The Stoic doesn't need to be liked. He needs to be at peace with himself. And that peace, that calm, it intimidates those who live in the noise. Lesson 8. Silence in the face of contempt, manipulation, emotional testing. There are times when she's not trying to understand. She's trying to provoke, to test the foundations, to see if the man in front of her stands tall or collapses. And that's where many fall. They shout, they cry, they explode. But the Stoic doesn't fall for that trap. He recognizes the game, and he doesn't play. She says, "You're not even a real man." Or, "My ex understood me better than you." You feel your ego boiling, your heart pounding, your words wanting to burst out. But you say nothing because you have nothing to prove to someone who tests you that way. The Stoic knows verbal contempt is a maneuver. He doesn't defend himself. He watches, and he replies with what's rarest today, a silence full of mastery. Example, she, "You never feel anything. Are you a robot or what?" You, calm look, steady breath. "I feel I just choose not to react to everything." And then, silence. You don't attack. You don't explain. You stand. Every manipulation seeks a crack in your ego. Every emotional test tries to destabilize your calm. And every uncontrolled reaction is a victory she'll never admit, but never forget. As Epictetus said, "If someone tries to hurt you with words, remember it's your judgment that gives those words power." She's not testing to destroy you. She's testing to see if she can let go. If you stand firm through her storms, then she'll know she can lay her fragile world on your stable structure. Your silence is a filter. It lets truth through and blocks out anything that doesn't deserve your energy. Want to be unshakable? Learn to weather the storm without answering the lightning. Because the more she strikes, the more she's hoping you won't fall. There you have it. You've just learned what many men never understood. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. A posture, a strategy, proof of value. If you remember one thing from this video, let it be this. You don't need to convince to exist. You don't need to speak to attract. Often it's enough just to be there, whole, calm, unshakable. I hope this lesson helps you refocus, know yourself better, and rise above the noise. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to get more content like this. Leave a comment if you felt something. And share this video with a brother who needs it. We'll meet again very soon. Until then, stay solid. And remember, true power is calm.